Hello, my friends at SRM. This is Daryl Andrews, Coach D, your diversity, equity, and inclusion consultant. For the last several months, I've had the wonderful opportunity of interacting with pretty much all of you. We've had some training programs of all staff. We've had some leadership think tanks. We've had some interactions with the RAC and helping to develop the RAC. But I started to think about the process of integration, where does this make sense from a full integration standpoint to understand how DEI could be embraced and understood by via an education process. So what I'm going to be doing is sending out bi-weekly about a 5-minute video to discuss various topics within DEI so that you can have a better understanding of what this is all about. So today, what I want to talk about, and maybe it's something you can discuss with your peers, or if you're a manager, you can use this as an educational tool with your staff during staff meeting to continue the discussion of DEI. The thing I want to talk to you about, and it's important as your consultant, to define what diversity, equity, inclusion is and what diversity, equity, inclusion is not. Because if you get caught up into the national narrative, it's very easy to have the wrong perspective of what diversity, equity, and inclusion is. So as I sit here in my office with my American University shirt on, representing my daughter, I always represent my kids. I'm a kid dad. She's a student at American University. I just want to give you just a quick understanding so that as you're in the workplace or as you're interacting with others, you will have a concrete understanding of what it is. So let me tell you what it's not first. No, I'm going to tell you what it is first. All right. Diversity, equity, and inclusion is education and awareness that leads to culture change. All right. Let me say that again. Education and awareness that leads to culture change. And what I mean by that is diversity is about, in an organizational setting, is really about establishing a system to make sure we have equity in the workplace. Okay. And so the companies like yours and organizations that are doing it are saying, we want to make sure that all people, from an employee standpoint to a customer standpoint to a vendor standpoint, that we're doing things in an equitable way. Okay. That's the primary goal. And I'm proud of organizations that doing that, because some people may think, well, we don't have a need for it. We do in our country. Our country has had a challenge historically when it comes to racial issues, gender specific issues, a variety of different things. And so it's not that everyone is bad and everyone is, it's not. It's just that since we've had this historical perspective, we need to make equity, diversity, all that a priority. It's not pointing fingers at anyone. It's just saying that. So that leads me to the second part, what it's not. It's not about racism. And that's where we always get into trouble with this thing. People think that if I'm getting diversity, equity, and inclusion training, they think that I'm a racist. No, no, that is not what is being communicated. What's being communicated, it has nothing to do with people on an individual level. And that's what people do. They take it personally. And so it's not about that. It's about trying to create an equitable system. So when we're training to it or if we're coaching to it, it's just to create continuity. If you're there and you say, I'm not a racist, bless you, man. That's fantastic. So now what we're doing is creating systems to assure that your mindset, because you're saying if a person says I'm not a racist, that mindset is the mindset that we all have when it comes to our interactions with people, and the interactions with our fellow staff members and interaction with our community. And so I'm big on trying to get people to stop taking it personal and say, we're working together to create something that's right for our country, right for our organization. But let me say this, it's about your organization. You're not there to fix the country. And so the last thing I'm going to say is stop listening to the national narrative. Focus on what you're doing within your organization and be the best that you can be there. Just be the best that you can be there. Because if we look at the national narrative, we look at the news, people start getting angry. They're calling me a racist. That's not what's taking place. Focus on SRM. That's what I'm there for. I'm focusing on you. And that's really important to me to see that your organization has all the tools and insights that it needs to be the most equitable organization. So that's all I have today. And I'm going to be sending out more. Just remember, diversity, equity, inclusion It's education and awareness that leads to culture change. It's not racism. And if we can get beyond that, what happens is now we can do some collective work together. People can synergize in their team meetings, things like that, without feeling that sense of guilt that this is what you're thinking about me. It's about creating a culture where people are treated fairly, no matter where they come from, their backgrounds and walks of life. That's all I have for today. Any questions, reach out to me at info@coachdspeaks.com. Take care.